Glenn here, and if you are like many Americans, you likely have a storage space within your home that is completely full and disorganized. Mine happens to be in the unfinished portion of my basement. So recently, my wife decided that it was time for all that to change, and she asked me to build her a storage tote system like the one she had seen recently on social media. Now, I'm not the most handy guy in the world, to say the least, but I accepted that challenge. Now, fortunately, I was able to get online and purchase some building plans on Etsy for a small fee in the form of an Excel spreadsheet, and I'll include that link below. Next, we rented a small dumpster and purged a ridiculous amount of stuff from the basement. Once that was finished, I got busy building the storage bin racks, and we went from this to this. Now here we are a month later, and she's asked me to build a second rack on this wall behind me, and I figured since we had such a positive response on the before and after pictures on Facebook, I'd take you guys along with me in case you were wanting to do the same at your home and show you how it's done. So the first thing I had to do was measure the available space. Now for the first rack, I was able to go 6 bins across and 5 bins high for a total of 30 bins. Now this wall isn't quite that long. We're only able to go from this post over to that corner, so we're going to do 4 across and 5 high for a total of 20 bins. Okay, so I've got my space measured. I know exactly how big I want to build this rack. We're gonna go 4 across and 5 high. Now I'm gonna come here to the Excel spreadsheet that I bought off of Etsy. I will drop a link below so that you can purchase it yourself if you decide to build one of these. And this makes it super simple. So you enter the dimensions of the storage totes that you're using, you enter the number of bins wide that you want to go and the number of bins high that you want to go, and it calculates everything for you. So I've already entered this information, and so here's what it kicked out. We are going to need 28 2x4x8s and 1 2x4x4, which I already have the spacers that I need that 2x4x4 is for, so I'm not going to purchase that this time. You will need to though. Box of screws, of course, and the totes. And then down here, it even tells you which tools you're gonna need. You're gonna need an impact driver, a pencil, screws, a square, a saw, and a tape measure. So pretty simple. Now I'm gonna take this information, I'm gonna print it off, and we're gonna go to probably the Lowe's website and order the lumber and have it delivered right to the house. Okay, we got the lumber order in right before 2 o'clock today, and Lowe's already has it here. It's not even 6 o'clock, so that's awesome. He's backing it up here, and we're gonna unload it right here in the garage. All right, so now that we have a nice, beautiful day, it's almost gonna be 70 today here in February, if you can believe that. We're gonna go ahead and get started cutting all of our lumber ahead of time. So I have 4 2x4x8s here. We're gonna cut them to 94 inches a piece. These are the 4 that will run horizontally along the bottom and the top of the rack. So I'm gonna go ahead and start measuring and cutting here, or measuring so that I can cut later. Grab our square. I'm not a professional, folks, but we do our best, right? Tape measure doesn't want to cooperate with me today. Now, once I mark these off camera, I'm going to come back and measure again, just to be sure, especially someone like me who is not a professional. Definitely want to measure once and measure twice and cut once, right? All right, so I have them all marked at 94 inches, and now we'll get to cutting. Okay, so obviously the most important thing here is make sure you have some eye protection on before we start cutting. I'm gonna use a miter saw. Someone who's a little bit more skilled than me can probably easily do this with a circular saw. I don't trust myself to cut straight with a circular saw, so we're just gonna go ahead and use the miter saw here. All right, here we go. Okay, so now that we have our top and our bottom vertical boards cut, we are going to start cutting the actual boards that are going to support the bins when you slide them in. So we're going to measure these 30.5 inches a piece, and we're going to need 40 of them. So it's going to take 14 of these 2x4s. So I'm going to go ahead and start measuring and marking, and then we'll start cutting. All right, so actually what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna cut one of these at 30.5 inches, and then I'm gonna use that one as my guide so we don't have to go through and actually measure 31.5 inches 40 times. That'll save us some much needed time. Okay, so now that we have all 40 of those cut, we're going to use the remaining 10 2x4s. We're gonna cut them at 76 inches for each one. Those are gonna be our vertical supports. So I'm gonna go ahead and start measuring here, and we'll get those cut, and then we'll be ready to haul everything to the basement and start actually putting this thing together. Okay, now that I have all 10 of these vertical supports marked, we're gonna go ahead and start cutting. All right, so now we have all of our wood cut, and I'm not quite sure how to feel about that because it's so nice outside. I do not want to go in, and probably the worst part of this job is going to be carrying all the lumber to the basement. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on that. Okay, so we've got all the lumber and tools lugged down to the basement now. Here's our little work area. So these are going to be the bottom and top boards here. I have marked them every 23 1/4 inches. That's where we're going to screw in our vertical supports. And we're gonna get started on that here in a second. And this is literally all the tools we're gonna use here. Obviously my instructions here, impact driver, tape measure, pencil, square, ruler, yardstick, whatever you wanna call it, and construction screws. So let's get started. Okay, so from here on out, it's really pretty simple. You're just literally screwing all these boards together. So we're gonna go ahead and get started here. You really wanna make sure these are squared up. And there we go. First vertical support in, we're gonna go ahead and finish them all and get this thing going. Okay, so now that we have both of our frames made, I've got these spacers left over from the last one I built. These are 10.5 inch spacers. We're gonna use these on the bottom, and then we have 11 inch spacers that we will use for the rest on the way up. So I'll show you how we're gonna do this. We're gonna plant these spacers right here. And that's gonna show us where to put our bin supports. So we're gonna line these up. Oh, there's a nasty staple right there. We don't want that. We want to make sure we get these right because we don't want this crooked. As a matter of fact, I'm going to push this all the way up against the wall here. Be careful not to let it fall down on me. Just like that. Exactly what I didn't want to happen. So this is kind of the tricky part. This is really the part where it's better to have two people, which I don't, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. I did it last time without the help of another person, so I can do it again. And once we get at least one of these finished, then it'll be a lot easier. All right, that one's in place now. We're gonna work on the back one. All right, I think we got her there. Hopefully that's not too far off. I'll go do the other side and then we'll just continue all across the bottom, and then we'll swap it out for the 11.5 inch spacer and go on it. Yes, I just spilled the whole brand new box of nails. I should have known better than to sit them up on the bin but you know, these are just things that happen. Now we're back in business. All right, let's see how strong I am. Get it around that post. There we go. Cool. Now we're gonna have to find another spot for this. But we're done. All right, so there we go. For less than $200 and really a day's work, even though I spread it out over a few days, you could easily get this done in less than a day, really, if you wanted to. We've got this 20 bin storage rack behind me here. Really helped to organize our basement. Over here is the 30 bin rack that I built earlier this month. And so for a grand total of under $1,000, we were able to turn this disastrous area into this nice organized storage space. And that $1,000, under $1,000, included the rental of a dumpster. That's where all the hard work came in, to get all the unnecessary, all the stuff we didn't want anymore out of here. And then we just had to organize and get these bins built and fill up the totes. So if you would like to do this yourself, I'm gonna drop the link to the building plans below here. And if you have any ideas about maybe another project I could take on that you'd like to see, let me know. And if you have any real estate needs in Southern Indiana or the Louisville, Kentucky area, please reach out to me. I'm always taking new clients. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. Not sure what happened here. We're stuck.